going on, guys? Welcome back to the StayWeighedIn YouTube channel. I'm here with my man, the legend himself, Sugar Ray. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, thank you. The rainy weather outside today kind of sums up the day, but we'll push through. How about yourself?
I'm tired. I can't lie to you, bro. Like we were saying off air, it's sleepy, but I think the rain also contributes towards it.
Yeah.
But we are here for another episode of the StayWeighedIn podcast. Today we are previewing Devin Haney versus George Kambosos. George Kambosos Jr. I said two. We might have a second fight, but we are here. It is for all the marbles in the lightweight division, and I want to go to you straight away on this. In this particular fight, who has the most pressure to win?
It's a weird one. I think worldwide is going to be Haney because a lot of people see him as favourite. But with Kambosos fighting in Australia in Marvel Stadium, and I'm predicting it's going to be packed out. I was going to be sellout as well. It's a big stadium. They've had big events there. In the UFC side, they had Adesanya versus Whitaker there, where Adesanya was victorious, and it's like they bring a very ruckus crowd. So I think in the stadium itself, pressure will be on Kambosos, but maybe the wider boxing world, it might be more pressure on Devin Haney because he's been seen as the better boxer technically. But maybe that's due to not giving Kambosos his credit, but who knows?
I was going to say, talk about credit. You lead me on to this particular point. I did actually open up saying Haney versus Kambosos, but it's billed Kambosos versus Haney.
Yeah.
Is it fair that even though Haney might be, I guess, arguably the bigger name, that Kambosos brings more to the particular fight, and therefore he should be the first billed name on the card?
It's techie because Kambosos basically was the guy that spoiled the party. He wasn't in there to be. He was meant to be the mandatory that, Teo just goes and does a showcase performance against Kambosos, and then Teo goes into stardom, and obviously Teo was saying the whole conspiracy of it's the zone's fault, even though the fights end up on ESPN. But yeah, it's a weird one. Kambosos has been shot into the spotlight. He's done the most he can to maximize it, so I give him credit. But more people knew Haney, but then ironically, it's like with Haney, people didn't want to give him his just due for whatever reason. So it's kind of like there is no A or B side. It's probably going to come down to a flip of a coin. It's probably going to come down to perspective of where you watch him from, because neither a guy is really that big of a star to say that they're the A side. Kambosos can maybe lean on it a bit more just because he's got the belts and the fights in Australia.
I was going to say that. So you said none of them are the A side, and when we talk about the belts, you got 3 versus 1. Now, Devin Haney being the WBC champion and being called the email champion. In some ways, we've heard it because of how it was given, because of what happened in Lomachenko and how he got given his super title, and therefore this was.
That's why they blame the WBC.
I was going to say, so does this discredit Devin Haney a little bit? And if it doesn't him, not necessarily as a boxer, but I guess quote unquote champion, then, because
the only people saying email champion are the people that don't want to give Haney credit in the first place. I'm not trying to be funny. This guy was chasing big fights for a long time, and I was saying it for a long time, and some people doubted him that, does he really want these fights? And it's just like, this guy was out here defending his belt. The guy was out here trying to get the best fights, and people running away from him. Ryan Garcia was the bloody mandatory for this fight, and he was on the same channel as him, and he chose to fight Jojo Diaz in a battle to become mandatory when you're already the mandatory. That makes no sense. Just to back out of that fight as well. So it's kind of like, so you say all of that to say that he's just an email champion. He's like, no, he's clearly being avoided. And even this fight wasn't supposed to happen. He was going to fight Lomachenko. And as much of a big, great Lomachenko is, let's be for real, Loma is not the big draw that people say that he is. He's not. To boxing hardcore, absolutely. This guy has the skills to pay the bills, all of that. But let's not act like he's some, commercial star. He's not. There's a reason why Loma only started really breaking in a lot of his English, post the Teo fight, because he realized that in order to get these bigger fights, I have to become more of a commercial commodity. So the Devin Haney stuff, for me, it just comes down to, has he got the Prius fight style? Maybe not. Has he got the power to excite people? Maybe not. He's a very slick boxer, does like negates people's skills. And I think obviously sometimes it's like, if you haven't got a bit of razzmatazz on that, it can hurt you and it's hurt him. But call him email champ is just a way for people to cheapen it. But let's be for real. Why the hell did the WBC do the franchise belt?
Hey, do you know what? In boxing right now, everyone's getting a belt when they can do it. But
listen, WBC, I've been asking for our StayWeighedIn belt. I want a belt. I legitimately, WBC, get our address and send us a belt. I want a belt.
I mean, I'll take one as well, like a little strap
there. Yeah,
that's
a nice little fling it over the shoulder. You're like The Rock, and then you just give the smell. Going to the top turnbuckle and just flinging it over your shoulder.
Come on, man. Like, it's all good. But let's actually break down the fact, because you said something quite interesting. You go that Devin Haney might be a better boxer, but he's not necessarily the most entertaining in terms of his power and stuff. And there's another thing about Devin Haney that I think personally is that he's quite susceptible to getting hit. Even though the Linares fight, he got hit. And even before then, he did get hit. So I'm just thinking to myself, is that going to be a little bit of a problem for him? Considering we see Kambosos go ahead and not knock out, but he did knock down Teofimo Lopez as well. So how wary should he be going into this fight that he could get hit and it could be a bit more problematic than previous fights?
He should be wary just because Kambosos is a ferocious competitor, no pun on his ring name. But then the fact that we have to point out the fact that Haney has been hit once or twice in his last fights lets you know that's how much punches he evades, by the fact that we're like, rah, well, he got hit this time, he got hit this time. It's like, yeah, you can count on one hand how many times he got hit, because he doesn't get hit that much. But obviously, just like anybody, you should be wary that the times you do get hit, be careful, because Kambosos is he's a guy that's a big lightweight as well. Him and Haney are big lightweights. So I think this will be it'll be a factor to consider. But overall, I think the bigger factor is going to be how's Haney been training for this fight, because obviously he's had quite a few trainer switches. The whole thing about his dad not being able to be let in was stupid with the visa issue. The guy, I think he's got a short stint of, he had a bit of green on him back in the day. He got caught back in the day. He served his time for a plant, basically. That's what he went in for. Went in for a plant. This is stupid because this conviction was before his son was born and it weren't even a violent crime. But he can't get a visa into Australia. That's ridiculous. But that's neither here or there. So, and then obviously the trainer who shall not be named associated to that association that should not be named. They basically couldn't train with Haney either. So I think now it's just a case of he's made to do what he does, and if he's a real champ, let me not say if he's a real champ. If he's got the minerals to be an all-time great, we'll find a way to get through this. And he's got the card stacked against him, because this ain't the promoter that he really wanted to sign with, but he wants greatness. So, you got to commend him. And, he's in Australia and he has to really, and he's got a rematch clause in there. So he has to really go out there and box his ass off, because they will try to rig this guy if possible. So, more power to him.
And what about Kambosos then? We touched on Haney. I guess I want to know from you, what does he do well that troubles Haney? But on the flip side, what's his weaknesses? Because again, I looked at the Teofimo Lopez fight, because I'm using that as possibly the escalation point for Kambosos, and he started off well with the knockdown. But as the fight progressed, Lopez got into it. Lopez knocked him down in the 10th round. But then on the flip side, again, he came strong in the championship round. So I guess for me, I want to know from you the strengths and weaknesses when it comes to Kambosos and how that relates to Haney in this particular fight.
I think with Kambosos, his strength is his pressure. He puts on a relentless pace. He puts on a relentless pressure. He's not afraid of a firefight. He'll stand in the pocket if he needs to. He's also a rangy guy, so he can pick you up from far if he needs to at range. But the thing is, with the the Teofimo fight, what I think happened was Kambosos got a bit careless in the fact that he dominated for so long that he ran into a punch. And I think even when he got up straight away, he was coherent. He spoke to his corners. Corner said straight away, listen, you know what you did there. You got complacent. So I think that's the good thing about Kambosos, that he was able to recognize that and he came on strong again in the last round. However, you cannot afford to do that against Haney because he's also another big lightweight who can put the pressure back on you if you let things slip. And because he's a slickster as well, it's like he's gonna want to make Kambosos miss his punches and then counter. He's like very simple game, 1-2, pap, 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 pap. Like I said, he hasn't got crushing power. So Haney just basically has to go in there, outpoint him in every single way possible. Like you actually have to outclass Kambosos, but with the way that Kambosos will try to bring it into a firefight, it's gonna be hard. So it'll be a match of who can bring in their tactics more. And I feel like the only thing with Haney, like we said in his previous fights, he has been susceptible not only to be hit, but he'll engage in his opponent's game plan. And I feel like he does it sometimes, maybe just to show people that I can do this. But at this high level, don't give no one that inch above you. Go in there and impose your will.
I want to touch on two things before we get predictions. The first thing I'm going to go to is the venue, everything about it. Now, the reason I'm going to speak about it, being in Australia, I've already seen what I'm not going to call it a robbery, but I'm going to call it an unfavorable decision. Jeff Horn beating Manny Pacquiao in Australia. If this goes to the decision, we've talked about in Vegas, Canelo, we've talked about a lot of things with other fighters and stuff. Does Haney have to be that bit clearer to be able to win on decision if this goes that way? Because I personally think it's going decision. Does he have to be that clear? Or do you think he's got the ability to get away with a split decision in this particular case?
He absolutely has to go in there and close the deal. You cannot give Kambosos an inch because any round that could be seen as a swing round, they will give to Kambosos. Like, let's not act like we don't know what this is. As good as boxing's starting to become, in the last few years, it still got his old treacherous ways in it, and they will rig the judges if you give them a chance. Believe you me. So look at Josh Carroll and Taylor.
Yeah,
and that was the fight. Even Taylor's promoter was even looking at that, looking like, wow,
I still remember
how can you rob someone that badly? So seeing stuff like that just lets me know, Haney, go in there and do not give this guy an inch. And Kambosos also has the comfort of knowing, I'm sure obviously as a competitor, Kambosos doesn't want to go into there thinking like this. But at the back of some of his, at least his corner's mind, they're going to think any close round is in the ball's in your court. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially that I'm sure if Kambosos wins, unless it's like a very contested bout, he can move on, and Devin Haney will still have 2 more fights at top rank. And to that, he can maybe go, he might go up to like welterweight and fight there. And then Kambosos might, go on and face Gervonta Davis in the big pay-per-view fight for all the marbles. So I think it goes well either way. Kambosos can get that fight, and then it'll be a big thing of unifying the lightweight division.
I was going to say, so the final bit really is actually that because of what's on the line and how hard it's been to hold all the belts, since we've got four belts in the division. I think this will be the 8th person only to hold all the belts. In terms of a legacy fight, where does this rank for both of them? And also in terms of pound for pound ranking, for one of them to come out of this fight, providing it's not a draw, where would you rank them in terms of pound for pound ranking then as well?
I think this legacy fight will go down as a legendary year because of how so many undisputed fights that's gone down, whether it is Charlo the last week, whether it is, the welterweight undisputed that's potentially going down this year, whether it's, Taylor Serrano, which was for undisputed, whether it's Marshall for Shields, it's going to go down as a, big fight. Taylor last year with Ramirez. I got a feeling I'm missing out someone else undisputed this year, but sincere apologies.
Same. I'm the same. I feel like there's one more, but I just can't put my
one more. I got a feeling I'm missing. I'm going to kick myself later on, and sincere apologies. And obviously Canelo last year as well. So I think it's just going to go down as a legendary year. But what can happen, I feel like there's more history on Haney's side. Actually, no, there's history on both sides because I don't know if there's ever been an undisputed Australian champion. So obviously that would be on Kambosos' side. And then on Haney's side, I believe if he gets all of these, he will be the youngest ever undisputed world champ. So pound for pound rankings, I don't know if we'll make a big dent in it just yet, because one thing people need to start remembering is one thing getting a belt, it's another thing defending the belt. So once he gets some defenses in, I think even Haney might even move up. I think he might get the Loma fight. Well, Haney would have to beat Kambosos twice if he wins this one, because obviously the rematch clause is there. And then Haney might potentially, fight Loma, depending on how the situation is going with that. And even if not, then he might opt to go face Tank on Showtime, or he might just go like welterweight. So both guys got a lot of options. I don't think pound for pound they won't make a crack just yet. They might need to go to another division just to do that. But in terms of history in the lightweight division, it's gonna be made.
And before we wrap up, then I need your predictions. Where are you going? Who do you think wins? Haney's the favorite. We're in hometown of Kambosos. Where do you go?
I'm absolutely sitting on the fence.
Oh, you've got to stop sitting on the fence. I don't know.
No, I'll be honest. I'm leaning. No. I'm gonna say what I said with the Bivol situation.
Yeah. Okay.
If this is a fair and square bout, if this is a fair and square bout, I'm leaning towards Haney. But my goodness, the cards are stacked against him. How about yourself?
I'm sticking with Kambosos Jr. I feel like there's too much in his favor to go against it, and also I feel like at this particular point, because again, like you said, Haney's coming in as the favorite, but Kambosos is the one coming in with, I think, more to lose, and I feel like he wants to put a marker down too, because there are still some people that believe we knew Haney, we didn't know you. You've just come out of nowhere and you've won this particular fight. You don't kind of deserve to be here to a casual. So I think I'm going to take Kambosos to win. And I think the only thing I will say is, though, his fights previously that he's won, he's not been at home. So now that he's under pressure being at home, I want to see how he deals with that particular thing.
He can either boost you up or crush you. So it's going to be interesting. And like I said, that is a big venue that they're looking to fight in. So, may the best man win. And I'm looking forward to a great event. And here's another road to the undisputed.
I was going to say, but with that, we are going to wrap up today's episode of the StayWeighedIn podcast. If you are enjoying the content, why not hit that like button and subscribe? Hit us up on all our social media channels as well. It's just now at StayWeighedIn. And as always, guys, love and peace and stay weighted in.
Bam.